Hi, it's Sandy Parker and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to use a big background die. It's a framing die. We're going to use it 3 different ways. I hope you'll stay tuned. I got this rabbit stamp from Fun Stamper's Journey, and you can see it is the cutest little fella in the world, and that's what he looks like size-wise. I have this die. I don't know where I got it from. I've had it for a while in my stash. And what I did was I took a 4 1/4 inch wide by 5 1/2 inch tall card base. That's from Recollections, Michael's cardstock. They're heavyweight. I laid my die cut on it, and then I traced some parts of it with a pencil. And so hopefully you can see that now. See the little marks? I'll hold it up so you can see it. See those little marks? We're going to erase those in a minute, but I did that so when I put my bunny down, I would be making sure that she's right where she needs to be. And she is a girl because she's wearing a lovely headdress. And all you're going to want to do is just make sure that you get as much of her in the frame as possible. And I'm going to try, I'm going to go with that and see how that looks. We'll put that down. Then I'm going to take it back off, and this is how I'm going to make this work. I'm going to lay it like this, and we'll put the we will put our magnet back on it, lay it down, close her up, and then we'll see how she looks. Now you can see, I don't know if you can see this, see the bottom some of the semicircle where she's too high up, because she should be lower so that, I should have just done this, right? This would have been way smarter. We want to make sure that her little image is in that opening, but that the bottom of it isn't above this. You don't want it to just kind of be hanging there. You want it to be under that. Did that make sense? I hope it did. Geez, sometimes I say things and I think, who says this stuff? She's crazy. Clearly, that'd be me. Anyway, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take an ink, and I'm going to use a gray ink, but it's going to be a permanent ink. I'm going to have my rabbit be gray, and I'm going to use this archival gray from Stampin Up. And for some reason, I'm stamping this like I'm right-handed, which is kind of crazy because I'm left-handed, so that screws me up a little bit. So I'm just going to make sure I ink her really, really well. Push that down. Making sure she's really well inked. And because I'm using the MISTI, I can ink her a couple times. Wow, is she cute? Look how cute she is. That's the cutest little rabbit I ever saw. Okay, I'm a little bit losing my mind there, right? Calm down, Sandy. It's just a rabbit. That's what you're thinking. I know. Okay, next thing we're going to do is let it dry. I'll be using this again because I need to make more of these. Next we're going to do is erase those marks because we don't want those to be in our background. I'm going to put her off to the side, and I'm going to get a scrap piece of paper. We're going to use one of our little brushes. Then I'm going to use my peeled paint. Make sure we ink the whole thing really well. See what color comes off with. It comes out green. That's all that matters, right? Now, when you're doing this with something that's as, we'll call it flimsy, you know, the lines of this are really thin, you want to make sure that you don't rub too hard or you're going to end up ripping it. So what I'm going to do is just very gently go on the edges. I'm trying to just make an outlined edge on the leaves so that there's a little bit of a difference between some of the colors and some of the other colors. You know, like some of the leaves are darker, some of the leaves are lighter. I just want it to have a little bit of difference there. Again, being very careful not to get a big rip in this, because we don't want that. Something that's really fun that you can do with one of these die cuts is, after you've done this, if you wanted to, let's say that you have, well, let's see if I can do it on one of these postcards I made. I might have to do my die cut over again. But here's what we're doing. Ooh, this is the back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just set this in the center of this. We're going to make our postcard go in a different direction than postcards normally go. And if you want to, this is what you can do so that you get a little bit of a different look, but it's kind of like you've made it into a stencil. I'm going to take a little piece of washi tape and tape that down. As I said, I might have to redo my initial idea, because if I want this to have different colors in it, I'm going to have to do something a little bit different. You know, if my paper is going to be all one color now, because I'm basically covering the whole thing with this green ink. And keep in mind, I'm going to cut off this part, and I'm also going to do a little bit more coloring on the inside. I'm going to do a little bit more coloring on the inner portion, because I want to make sure that it's all a little bit green, and I want to blend out some of those weird lines. I have some lines here that I don't like the look of, where there's too much green and it's like not a clean transition. Okay, I'm going to grab my paper trimmer. I'm going to make it so it goes right up to the line like that, and then I'm going to trim off that little edge on the bottom and the little edge on the sides. We're going to make sure that this looks like we would hope it would look if it's straight. Okay. I don't think I did that very straight. Okay. So now that's what ours looks like. It was bigger. It was too big to be a postcard, but now it's that size. So we can get our bunny. I think I'm going to, let me show you how to do this. I'll put her in place, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of scrap. This is a Post-it note, so it'll stay where I put it. But what I want to do is I kind of want to make it so that it's almost like a mask. And I'll show you how you do this. You're going to put your paper down like that. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pencil and put it down at the bottom like this. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to draw just around the leaves like that. And then I'm going to cut out, I'm going to cut this part out. See, now you can see that green on the bottom below the rabbit. That would tell you that that rabbit is going to show, there's going to be a gap where our rabbit would show there, and we don't want that to happen. That's why we've created this little mask. See if my rabbit is well inked. Good job on that inking. And then when you pull this off, see how the leaves are hiding the rabbit behind them? That's what you want. That's the whole point of making that mask. It's so that when you're when you look at your card, the leaves aren't obscured by the rabbit. And we're going to pull it out of here because I want to do some coloring on these. I did tell you where that came from, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, Fun Stamper's Journey. I didn't tell you the name of it. It's called Miss Whiskers. I think it's adorable. Next up, we've got our stamped bunny here, and we have our frame for our stamped bunny that I bent. That I didn't mean to bend, but these things happen. So this is our frame and our bunny. So I want to color our bunny first, and I'm going to use alcohol markers for that. I am going with 3 colors of him, I think, her. 751 and 752 are the primary colors I'm going to use. And they call 751 pearl. I hope it doesn't look pearl. Hope it looks darker than that, but you never know. I pulled out a lot of colors to color our flowers. In the purples, I think I'm going to do a lilac and wisteria purple, but I also have some deeper colors, and I'll explain that too. When I did the green background of the other, of the postcard, I realized that I had to amp up my colors. So I had to go from lighter colors to very, very dark. So I think I'm going to go with, in the end, these 2 purples, which would be orchid and wisteria. Wisteria is going to be my lighter color, and then the other one is going to be my darker. So we're just going to color this. My background color is cream, in case you didn't realize that. For the berries, I'm going to do crimson red. And I put a dot of a darker red on them too when I did my other one, because I thought it, ooh, missed a little bit there. I thought it needed a little bit of darkness. So I added in wine red. And then I'm going to use coral. I'm going to use these oranges, apricot and coral, for this, I don't know what you call this flower. Then I'm going to do some yellows on the ones that look kind of like daisies. We're going to use saffron, yellow, and yellow ochre. Not much yellow ochre. And then my greens, doing moss green. Okay, see I missed a couple of spots on my rabbit. Then we're going to do some pink ears. And a pink nose. A little bit more pink on the edges of her nose. And here's our background. We need to put some glue on this and put it in place, and then I'll show you what I did with the other one. So I've got my glue And I think the only thing we have to do after this is get our greeting laid down. Figure out where we want to put it. That's the tricky part. You know, where do you want to put a greeting when you have a raised frame like this around it? And then you're going to line up the bottom edge of your frame. And then kind of walk your hands up like that. It looks pretty good. Now we just need to come up with our sentiment and figure out where we want to lay it and what color we want to make the background of it. I think I'm going to make it a different color than the rest. And oh, I have something else I want to put on this. In this case, I'm going to go with these ones that look like a peacock. And I'm going to just put a few of them. That's how many. Then we're just going to put a little glue in the middle of these flowers. And then I can always change my mind and go with a different flower, or a different diamond. I like that. That makes me happy. Okay, next up we're just going to find a place to put the sentiment. Oh, before I do that, let me show you the other one. What I did with this one, after I picked it up, you remember the background was white and then it had the lighter green. I took a darker green marker and I outlined every one of the leaves. And then I took Squeezed Lemonade on one of these little brushes and I brushed the whole white background to make it yellow. And I also brushed the green background to make it yellow because I thought that it was too green, for lack of a better term, and I wasn't crazy about it. This is a postcard, so I can't do anything, I can't add anything to make it three-dimensional like I did on the other one. So now let's do our Happy Easter. Here is the green that I used originally. I could use that for my Happy Easter, but I don't know if I want that. Ugh. All right, let's do that, and then I'm going to use a die and cut this out so that it's so that it looks better, you know, so it's prettier. And I'm going to put it right in the center of that so that when I die cut it, I have enough room to use any kind of small die that I like to make it look frisky. And I'm probably going to use clear embossing powder on it and make it stand out more by doing that. I like to stamp my sentiments at least 2 or 3 times to get it as dark as possible. And then I also like to use clear embossing powder because that also makes it show up more. I'm using Icicle by Brutus Monroe. It's an ultra fine embossing powder. And I'm going to heat up my tool. Okay. Then I'm going to use, I have a bunch of little Spellbinders dies that one of my friends gave me. They are, they came from the monthly kit, and they are layers. So you can have, like, if you want a layer of this or a layer of that. There's a third one in here somewhere. There's actually 4 of them. I'm doing this so I can see which one I like the best with this sentiment. I keep these on my die cutting machine in this little, I don't know if you've ever seen one of these, but this bowl is magnetic and it comes from Harbor Freight Liquidators. And I think it was like $3 or $4, maybe $5. See, the bottom is a magnet. It's very strong. But the thing that's cool about it is when you have dies, I also keep washi tape in there so that when I need to tape down a die, it's there. But anyway, here's what you do. You just throw your dies in there and they stay. It's the greatest thing. Okay, let me look at these and see which one I like better. Don't like that one. Size-wise, I think this one kind of fits the image the best because it's just big enough, but not too big. And then that's when I use my washi tape, because when you have a small sentiment or a small, die like this, you have to make sure that you tape it down if you have a magnetic platform like I do, because these little dies move all over the place. And so I just want to make sure I tell you, if you get a magnetic platform, you definitely want to also have a little bit of tape on hand to make sure, that looks right, to make sure that it's going to stay when you run it through. So let me run this through real fast. Oh, I also want to go around the edges with my peeled paint. So I have that darker green. I don't know if you can tell, there's an indentation around the edges. There's an embossed area. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to just kind of use this and go around that area. I guess I'll put a little bit of fun foam behind this, or foam tape, or whatever. This is very, very thin foam tape that I got from the Dollar Tree. And just so you know, if you don't like to pay extra money for your cards to go through the mail, my mailman, when I take this to the post office, they squeeze my envelopes so much. I mean, it's like they're searching for gold in my envelopes. And of course, as soon as they find one little raised spot, like when they find that little raised dot, that's it. Then it's 70 cents. And then if they find it even thicker, then it's 92 cents. So I'm not sure what the system is. All I can tell you is my postman has got this down to a fine art of how he figures it out, and I can't. I have no idea what their system is. All I know is they do this thing where they feel my envelopes like this and decide whatever. I'm cool with it because I'm just happy that I can use the Postal Service. Now that we're not able to do a lot of things, the Postal Service is one thing that makes me able to stay connected, right? So the third and final way that I'm going to show you how to use a large die, cut die like this, is to make it into a shaker card. But I'm not going to just make it into a shaker card. I'm going to fill some of the die cut in with pieces from different colors of green. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to glue my acetate to the back of my die cut. We're going to make sure we glue as much of our background down as we possibly can, because we're going to be filling in the slots in between with other colors of green, and so we're going to cut more than one die cut. We're going to cut it twice, maybe 3 times, with different colors of greens, so that it's all the greens kind of stand out. And I'm using as much wet glue as I can to kind of make sure that all of my lines are well adhered, if I can get them to, because you don't want these lines to come up when you're gluing the other pieces in place, because if they do, then you've got a little bit of a problem on your hands, because you have to make sure everybody's glued down. I'm going to have to take some of this off later, like cut some of the excess off. Acetate, I mean. I'm going to have, because I didn't line it up perfectly, and I kind of grabbed this as fast as I could, but that's neither here nor there. We are going to work on this as quickly as we can now. So I die cut this lighter green. So what I want to do is I'm going to take my pokey tool, which is this. I think they call that a craft pick, for those of you who like the real names of things. And I'm going to put in this little piece, and this little bugger goes beside it. Oops. I don't know if you can see this, but my edges aren't glued down really well. And as I said, that's really crucial when you're doing this. Make sure you get everything glued down well if you want these to stay. Okay. Then let's see. Well, you get the gist of this. I don't think I'm going to make you sit here and watch me do this. Even if I fast forward, I think you're going to lose your mind doing it. So I'm going to just finish this and then I'll come back. This is what my outer die looks like, die cut, after I've glued everything in place. And then I'm going to use this card base. It's just craft cardstock. And I'm going to use this set of stamps. It's from Inky Antics, and it's called Cupcake Birdie Honey Pop, I think is what it's called. Anyway, I'm going to use the bird out of it. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to take, this is a mini MISTI, in case you're confused by how small it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my card base in, and then I'm going to put this on top of it. Well, first I'm going to put my birdie in and see how the bird does. I think that looks about right. So let go, birdie. Okay. So then I'm just going to glue this down with my magnets. Shut my door. Now I've got my little birdie in there. And I already did Happy Easter on one of these little Spellbinders die cuts that I did before from the same stamp set. I think that was, oh, I'll have to get that for you so you know what the name of that one was. I'm using gray archival ink. I thought it'd be better not to have the bird be super super dark. Sometimes black just doesn't, you know, like black ink just doesn't scream my name. Just saying. Of course, it doesn't matter because it's going to be covered up. I think that looks good, but you do want to clean your stamp press as soon as you're done using it with archival ink, because it makes it a lot easier in the end to get the ink off of it. Because if you don't do it now, later on you might not be able to get that archival ink off without a lot of stress. So there's our birdie. Put our birdie back. And let's see. I want to tell you that stamp set that I got that other one from. In case I didn't tell you where I got Happy Easter from, I got it from this stamp set, Amuse Studio for Peep's Sake. A really old stamp set, but I like the font of the Happy Easter, and that's why I use it. So that's that. Okay, so all we have to do is color this up. Maybe I'll use colored pencils. That sounds fun. Let's do that. These are my Marco Renoir colored pencils. They're inexpensive colored pencils, but they really do a nice job, and I recommend them in case you're looking for inexpensive colored pencils. My favorite colored pencils are Prismacolor, but I have a huge set of those, and I just didn't feel like getting them out. I know, lazy girl. And if you have one of these sets, or you have this plastic layer and then another plastic layer under it, I tape washi tape and make little handles like that, so it makes it easier to get them out. Just in case you wondered, if you were thinking to yourself, how do you do that and make it so it works for you? That's how it works. I'm going to use yellows and oranges, I think. Yeah, that's what I think I'm going to use. A couple yellows and an orange. Orange for the beak. And I'm going to color these. Let me get this out of the way. I'm going to color these in little circles. I think when you're using colored pencils, little circles is the easiest way to get no line look. And you can always blend your colored pencils if you want them blended, and you can do that with a bunch of different things. There's Gamsol, which is a mineral spirit that doesn't have any smell, but it's kind of fierce, and if you have animals or kids, you might not want to have it in your house because it's clear and it doesn't have any smell. Kids might think it's water, animals might think it's water, so you just don't want to take the risk. Another thing you can do is use Vaseline, and you just put Vaseline on the end of your colored pencil, and make sure you wipe it off after you're done, but the Vaseline will blend this so that you don't end up with any kind of lines. Baby oil, you can do that too. I do the Vaseline, that is my favorite way of blending, in case you wondered. But when I'm doing something as small as this, I don't think there's a lot of blending involved. Again, the little circles makes it a lot easier to have a easy, relaxed look that doesn't have lines in it. I'm going to use the other yellow pencil that's a little bit darker. I'll give you these colors in a second, in case you wondered. This one is 21 and this one is 19. And I always put a sticker on my colored pencils. I color them on the sticker and then I wrap it around, and then I know exactly what color I get. Because sometimes the color that's on the that you're looking at on the tip is not necessarily the actual color that you're going to get. And I like to make sure that I get the right color, so that's why I do that. Hold on, let me get one more color, because if you know me, you know that I like to make all of my animals have a little blusher, because why not? You know, they're just gonna have to have a little bit of little color, you know, a little pink on the cheek. How's that looking? Okay, I think it's looking okay. I do think we need a little ground though underneath him, because otherwise he's just kind of a floating bird. And I'm gonna just grab brown. I just wanted to make sure that I'm going to have to do a little bit more of ground there. Oh, that looks like a 3-year-old did it. Don't worry, we're going to have shaker things in there. You know, I was using my big artist words again. Shaker thing. I glued down some sequins and some enamel dots around the bird, and then I put some of my embossing buddy, I like patted it around the inside of where I have my foam tape, because then hopefully the sequins and the little diamondy things I'm using won't stick to the sides if you do that. That's the goal. And so then I got a lot of these diamond things. I'm calling them things because I'm not sure what to call them. When our nephew got married, I used these, and I'll show them to you. They're not flat on the bottom. They're shaped like a diamond. So when you use them, if you put them in upside down like they are right now, they will stay with the pointy part facing the back of the card, and that's what you want. So if you take the time to lay these in here upside down so that the point is facing you, then you'll be able to make it so that your diamonds that are once you close it, your diamonds will be facing the right direction. So you have to put a little effort into this. I'm not going to make you watch this. I'm going to have Rich just cut out the rest of this of me moving them around. They're kind of tricky to flip over sometimes. Okay, let's hope this will work. Then we're going to slowly put this, ooh, there's a diamond I missed. I got a couple over here I missed. We're going to put this, we're going to line it up on our grid and hope that we can, you probably can't see this. I'm going to try and move it back so it's lined up. And, yep. I'm trying to make sure, I'm going to have my head in the way, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure that I lay this, hopefully. Okay, let's see if any of them can move. There they are, shaking around. I think they look pretty. And then all I need to do is put in my Happy Easter. I think I'm going to put that up there. And maybe I'll go around the edge of it with a marker. I know most people don't use these teeny tiny ones of these brushes when they get them in those kits, but I have to say, for things like this, this thing works really well. It kind of stays in the area you want it to stay in, and I don't know. I have to say, if you get one of these kits of the black handled brushes and you're looking for a use for this little weird round one, and you think to yourself, well, I'll never use that little round one. There's another one that's like really thin and long. It's weird too. That one works good for this too. There we go. So there is our first use. I'm going to show you all three uses of the die and how you can make it work for you. So the first use was using it as it's intended, where you cut it, you just cut the die out and glue it down, and that's the sum total of how you did it. This one, using the die cut as a stencil, I laid the die cut down and I brushed the ink all around it, and then after that I used a marker and went around the edges so that you could really see a definitive edge. And then the third was taking the die cuts and cutting it out of several different colors of green paper, and then putting all those pieces of paper back in to the original die cut, and I think it looks really fun. And I like the idea of having different ways to use a die, because when you buy things like that, they're not an inexpensive project to purchase, and so this hopefully gives you some ideas of ways you could use your dies that maybe you haven't thought of before. I really appreciate you watching this and hope that you're staying in and staying safe, and that you'll continue to watch my videos. Please tell your friends about me on social media so that more people can enjoy these. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.